Let me tell you, the last thing I expected when I came home from a 3-week work trip was to find a 30-foot dock bolted right into my waterfront. Yeah, you heard me. A dock. On my land. And not just a little fishing platform, but a full-blown eyesore of a wooden dock stretching from my backyard into the lake I'd paid a premium to live on. The kicker. It wasn't even mine. Name's Archer Flint. I bought this place a couple years back, finally cashing in after 25 years bending rebar and pouring concrete as a structural engineer. Dream home, quiet lakeside, just me, Rusty, my old dog, and the nearest neighbor way down the road. At least it used to be quiet. Then came Lorraine Haskin. She moved in, got herself elected president of the Willow Shores HOA while I was gone last fall, and ever since it's been one headache after another. First it was approved mailbox colors, then lawn length inspections. Now apparently she'd decided we all needed a community dock. And wouldn't you know it, she chose my backyard as the spot. No letter, no knock, no nothing. Just a dock on my property, like I was a minor inconvenience. She could skip right over. So I marched over to Lorraine's place, trying my best to keep things neighborly, but she was out on her porch already watering some fake plants, sunglasses swallowing half her face. "Lorraine, I said there's a dock on my property." She looked at me over the rims, smirked, and told me, "It's for the community Archer. The board approved it." Like that was supposed to mean something. I wasn't in the mood for a debate, so I just laid it out. "You got 72 hours to get that dock off my land, or I'll do it myself." She laughed a sharp barking sound, then said, "Touch it and you'll be fined for destruction of HOA property." I walked away, fists balled so tight my knuckles went white, but I wasn't bluffing. Back at my kitchen table, I dug out my original sale documents, spread out the plat map, and double-checked every line. The shoreline and a good 10 feet into the water was mine private property. I even had security camera footage showing the HOA's hired crew tromping over my lawn with lumber and tools. No permits, no easements. Nothing. I called the county zoning office next morning. Nobody had filed for new construction. That dock trespassing. At least 3 zoning violations. And guess whose name was listed as the project's initiator? Lorraine's. 3 days later, I grabbed my tools, cordless drill, crowbar, gloves, and set to work. Took that dock apart plank by plank. Neighbors watched from their porches. Some even gave me a thumbs up. I stacked the wood on my trailer and parked it where everyone could see. Lorraine showed up in a fury, storming across the lawn. "What do you think you're doing?" she screeched. "Collecting materials," I said, not even looking up. "You stole HOA property?" "Nope. You dumped it on my land. That's illegal dumping." I cleaned it up. "You're welcome." I could see the steam coming out her ears. "You'll be hearing from our attorney." "Good. Maybe they can explain trespassing to you." I left her standing there red-faced and went inside. The next morning, a white SUV with tinted windows parked out front. Guy in khakis and a navy polo, clearly not the cops, started circling my place, clipboard in hand, snapping photos. Then he slapped a bright orange violation notice on my mailbox. Looked official, but the letterhead was clearly homemade. Unauthorized possession of HOA construction materials. Fine $500 due in 5 days. I carried it straight to the fire pit and set it alight. An hour later, I was down at the courthouse filing a report, illegal construction, environmental disruption, the works. The zoning officer, Jasmine, took one look at my photos, shook her head, and called in a code enforcement investigation. When she asked if she could contact law enforcement, I told her to go right ahead. She warned me HOAs like this don't roll over easy. I just wanted them to back off what didn't belong to them. Word spread fast. That afternoon, I noticed more neighbors walking their dogs past my house than usual, all eyeing the trailer full of dock debris. I didn't mind. Let them talk. That evening, an anonymous letter showed up. "Mr. Flint, your actions may result in neighborhood devaluation. We urge you to return the materials and issue a formal apology." I filed it under HOA shenanigans, figured I'd need a record. Next day, Jasmine came back, this time with a sheriff's deputy and a surveyor. They marked the property lines with fresh stakes. The deputy snapped official photos and asked if I wanted to press trespassing charges. "Not yet," I said. "Let's see how they react." That afternoon, Lorraine arrived with 2 board members, one guy with a limp and a woman clutching a clipboard so tight it looked like it might crack. They stopped just short of the new boundary markers. "We're here to negotiate," Lorraine said. I stayed on my porch. "Then stay on your side of the line." The guy offered a deal, return the wood, and they'd move the dock to the other side of the lake. No hard feelings. "You dumped illegal construction on my property," I said. "I'm keeping the wood as compensation for the cleanup." The woman shot back, "That's theft." "No, it's evidence. The county's investigating." Lorraine narrowed her eyes. "You think you can scare us with paperwork? We have legal counsel." "Good," I said. "You'll need it." That night, a call from the State Environmental Agency. "Did you authorize the dock construction?" "Didn't even know it existed. They sent an investigator, Agent Calloway, who spent an hour measuring the damage and confirmed the HOA was in violation of multiple environmental regs. If they used treated lumber or disturbed aquatic plants, they're looking at civil penalties and fines." Good, I thought. About time. A couple days later, Lorraine upped the ante, sent a tow truck at dawn to grab my trailer. I caught them in the act. "You got a removal order." The driver mumbled the HOA said it was theirs. "Touch that trailer and I'll file for theft and trespass." He backed off real quick. Then came the lawyers. A man in a gray suit offered to drop the fine if I surrendered the materials and agreed not to pursue further action. "And if I do what's to stop you from trying again next month?" He warned me about a civil suit for unlawful possession, but I just smiled and told him the EPA and zoning board were already investigating. That shut him up. Jasmine emailed me later the county was issuing a stop work order on any HOA construction. The state agency was calling Lorraine in for a compliance hearing. And then this was the best. My neighbor Howard, a retired judge I'd never really met, stopped by with a six-pack and said, "I've been waiting for someone to stand up to that woman. Mind if I help you draft your counterclaim?" I laughed. "Be my guest. We've got plenty of material." A week later, the real storm hit. Not rain, but suits and badges. Detective Raines from County Property Crimes and Dalton from the State Auditor's Office showed up. Turns out the HOA had faked maps to unlock $30,000 in reserve funds for the dock, then funneled the money through a shell company owned by Lorraine's sister. Contractor wasn't even licensed funds, misappropriated felony fraud, at least 2 counts. They needed a statement, and I gave them everything, footage, emails, the lot. Less than 2 hours after they left, Howard texted me, "Turn on Channel 5. The evening news showed the community sign with local HOA under state investigation crawling beneath it. Lorraine refused to comment, slamming the door in a reporter's face. The phone started ringing, neighbors calling to apologize for not speaking up sooner. Even the HOA office, which was just a sad trailer near the front gate, was shut down until further notice. But the real kicker was the envelope that came by certified mail. Leaked emails between Lorraine and her board plotting to backdate permits, lie about community access, even naming me as the mark. "If he raises hell, we'll fine him for obstruction." Sent the copies straight to the investigators. By Monday, Lorraine and one board member were arrested, cameras rolling. The community was in uproar. The remaining board called an emergency meeting. I went mostly because Howard insisted. The clubhouse was packed, residents shoulder to shoulder. Brent, one of the nervous board guys, tried to explain. "We didn't know what Lorraine was doing." Howard stood and shut him down. "You signed off on a project built on someone else's land. That's not an excuse." I called for a vote, dissolve the board, appoint a panel of new trustees, hold special elections. Only 2 abstained. The rest voted the old board out. Howard became interim trustee. I got named oversight coordinator. Guess folks figured I had the receipts, and I did. A full audit uncovered more rot gym equipment that never existed. Fake landscaping, $70,000 missing in less than 18 months. Every dollar traced, every scam documented. The state froze the HOA's accounts. New bylaws, transparency, mandatory homeowner votes, rotating reviews. The dock lumber, I donated it to a local veterans fishing program, new dock on public land plaque, and all donated by the residents of Willow Shores, built with reclaimed dignity. Couldn't have written it better myself. A month later, I stood on my now peaceful shoreline, Rusty wagging beside me, the lake calm as ever. Howard dropped by with coffee and a newspaper. The DA was pressing more charges, this time against the former treasurer. He'd been siphoning off funds, trying to send money overseas, the whole 9 yards. The dominoes kept falling. We pressed criminal and civil charges. The judge didn't hold back, called it a deliberate betrayal of public trust. Bail denied. Back home, the grass started growing back, the scars of the dock fading. Neighbors stopped by not to complain, but to thank me to offer a chair or a glass of lemonade. Lewis, our new principal turned volunteer, toasted me at the next meeting to Archer, who reminded us that one person standing up can make the rest remember how. I raised my cup to everyone who stopped looking the other way. The dock. Nobody even mentioned it anymore. It had become a symbol of what happens when you let greed and power run wild, sure, but also of what's possible when folks finally say enough. When you draw your line and don't let them cross it. Not for you, not for anybody. I'll tell you, looking back, the real lesson wasn't about property lines or HOAs or who owns what stretch of mud and water. It was about standing up even if you're alone at first, because once you do, others remember how to stand too. Maybe that's all it takes to set things right. Now I gotta ask, what would you have done? Where do you draw the line between getting along and doing what's right? Is there a point where standing your ground isn't just your right, but your duty? I want to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments. Let's talk about justice, about where it lives and who it belongs to. And if you've ever stared down your own Lorraine, or maybe just wish you had, now's your chance to tell it.